Isn't it great that we're all getting along? Can't we all get along?
Good morning. Welcome to the June 27th Crow Wing County Board meeting. Would you please stand and join me with the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice.
Well, we didn't have the open forum sheets out there this morning, so is there anyone here for open forum? If so, please come to the mic and state your name and address. I guess not. Okay. Review and approve the minutes of the meetings from the Board of Appeal and Equalization from 6/12.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Barrow, second by Commissioner Hoag. Is there any discussion?
Madam, Chair, just a question. Are we approving them one at a time, or are we approving them, both of them?
We're approving the Board of Equalization and Appeals and Equalization right now.
Okay.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, approval of the minutes from the 6/13 board meeting.
Motion to approve.
Is there- Motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Hoag. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Review and approve of the agenda.
No changes.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second. I'm sorry, give it to John.
No, that's okay.
Motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Lubke. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Barrow, second by Commissioner Coring. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Land Services.
Good morning.
Morning.
We've got 4 land use map amendments to discuss this morning, and then a couple other items related to a land donation request and the comprehensive plan consultant contract. But first, we'll start with item 6.1, which is a request from Klaus Stamping for a land use map amendment. They are requesting to amend the official land use map from commercial heavy industrial to rural residential 5, involving approximately 12 acres. This is located in Section 22 of Lake Edward Township. The parcel number is 73240532. And here's the parcel in question now, what you've got here. This is the current Klaus Stamping, the business and the use up there, and then the area in gray is the commercial heavy industrial is in that gray area. The area you see here is the shoreland area for these 2 lakes, and then the area in blue is rural residential 5, and the area here in pink is commercial 2. And so what they're requesting is that for this lot to be amended to be rural residential 5. The Planning Commission recommended approval with the attached finding of fact in your packet from the June 15th meeting. Staff has reviewed the request, the findings of fact, and concur with the Planning Commission and recommend approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Madam Chair, Chris, if it's already CI, commercial and industrial, or heavy commercial,
Yeah, it's a commercial heavy industrial now. Yep.
what would be the benefit of changing it to R5?
R5 would allow different uses than would be allowed in the commercial heavy industrial, there's some limitations as far as what types of other uses could be allowed on commercial, heavy industrial versus a rural residential 5. So that they're just looking to change this from that, from the heavy industrial to the RR5 for that 12 acres. Didn't really, assuming it's going to be for residential purposes on that parcel, so.
And that would be my follow-up question is, what would be, when you say it would allow for other uses, under the current map, they could still build homes there if they chose to, correct?
So if we look at what's allowed in, so if you wanted to build a house in the commercial heavy industrial, that'd be a conditional use permit. Wouldn't just be an administrative permit, it'd be a conditional use permit. And then as far as the other uses that would be allowed in the RR5, it'd just be your typical things that we allow as far as accessory structures and that sort of a thing. What it would be is it'd be a less intense use on that property in the future. That wouldn't be, that would not be something that would be allowed, something of a use in nature of like a cow stamping or something of that nature. It'd just be a much more residential use versus that industrial use.
Could you speak to the fact that the township board would prefer that it stays the way it is?
The only information we received from the town board was the
That little bit that
letter
they
we
sent
did.
us?
I have not spoke with like George or anybody else from the townships to give me some more information.
Right.
So I don't know any more details, and
I do.
Maybe you were at the town board, I think, maybe you have more details, so. Thanks.
I know a little bit more. I was at the meeting where they discussed this. This is right on County Road 3. They think that that's the appropriate place to have commercial, and they'd like it to stay commercial.
I have no other questions.
Anyone else?
So the areas that are in pink along this here are commercial, the commercial 2, and then again, this is that more of the industrial uses would be on the gray parcels. So there is commercial out there, right now in that area, and then you would just have that remaining parcel there. That's what Cloud would like to change to that residential use, RR5.
Are there any more questions for Chris?
Madam Chair, so Chris, any official correspondence from the township?
Yes, we did get a letter from them.
That's,
It's in your packet.
Yeah, we did get a letter. Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, it was dated, we received it on June 14th, and the recommendation from the township was denial, saying the board feels it'd be better to keep it commercial, heavy industrial, and strongly would like to keep it as is.
And the planning, Madam Chair, and the planning, excuse me, the planning commission thought this was a good idea. Were you at the meeting?
I was at the meeting. Yeah, they recommended approval. On a typical situation like this, it's when people want to change the land use map, their zoning district from a much more intense use to a less intense use. That's typically something the planning commission encourages and thinks would make sense. And it's also, when you look at the map, there's plenty of residential around it. It's adjacent to the R5 to the south. This is all residential in here and around the area, so they felt like this would be more suited to be residential in nature than it would be to industrial, considering the fact too that it was across the road from Cloud. I mean, if this was maybe adjacent to, there might have been a different opinion from the planning commission, but I think because of its location and the adjacency to these residential areas, they felt that really wouldn't be a spot because this is all residential here and here, and I think the planning commission felt like if this became more of an industrial use, that would maybe cause some issues with the potential residential uses in that neighborhood there.
Madam Chair, I would think that going from a very heavy industrial down to something less restrictive, I don't know, for that area with, you got two bodies of water there, I don't know, I think it kind of makes sense to me. I don't know why, and I'm assuming, I guess I can assume a little bit that Klaus Stamping has decided that they don't need that parcel for expansion. So I'm sure that they just decided that this would be the best use for it. So, Madam Chair, with that said, I would move the land use map amendment for Klaus stamping to be adopted.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Barrows. Chris, has Klaus said what they plan on doing with this piece of property?
We don't have any specifics from them at this point, what they'd want to do, but if it did get, into that zoning, obviously it'd be a residential use in nature is what they would, I don't know if they're looking to, sell or divest the property or, what their plans are for it, but their goal is to just get it out of the commercial use, that light or heavy industrial into the residential.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Barrows. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item 6.2, we have Holmvig Excavating LLC has another land use map amendment request here for you. This is located in, let's maybe explain the request first. So the request is to amend the official land use map from rural residential 20 to RR5 involving 160 acres. This is located in sections 26 and 27 of Wolford Township. Parcels are 9526-0523, 9527-0527, 9527-0528, and 9527-0529. This is the property in question here is the area that's these 4 parcels here. This is over here. You'll see this is the Milford area, the park, and what you've got here in the green. This is our rural residential 20. This is 2.5 acres. Everything you see that doesn't have a color on it is tax forfeited property. This is the shoreline area around Island and around. I can't read that, Hunter. This lake, and then again shoreline over here. The areas in blue are the R5, and so the Planning Commission, when they reviewed this, what you have before you today is that they actually made a denial because the request was to go from R20 to R2.5, and they denied that request based on the findings of fact from the June 15th meeting, and then they recommended approval to go from R20 to R5 instead. They felt that R5 made more sense in this area because of the R5 over here, and they thought that made more of a sense of transition for zoning on these parcels. So again, the Planning Commission recommended denial from the RR20 to the RR2.5, and they recommended going to a R5 instead of the R20 with the attached findings of fact. Staff, we have reviewed the request, the finding of fact, and we can concur with the Planning Commission on this and would recommend approval as submitted. If you choose to follow the Planning Commission's recommendation, it would require 2 motions, one to deny the original request that they made to go to the 2.5 zoning, and then a second motion to approve going to the R5. And there are findings of fact for both of those motions in your packet today.
Chris, with that change from the Planning Commission from 2.5 to 5, was the applicant good with that, or?
Yeah, he didn't disagree with it at the meeting and didn't put up any opposition during the meeting.
Oh, okay.
So, yep.
Good. With that, if there's no other, I'll make the motion to approve the zoning request.
Madam Chair, I think we need to first deny the first request, and then we'll approve the recommendation from the Planning Commission. So
The first motion would be to deny
The 2.5?
2.5.
right.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hoag, second by Commissioner Barrows. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
And then I'd make the motion to approve the R5 zoning request.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hoag, second by Commissioner Barrows. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much. We have item number 6.3, which is another land use map amendment request. This is for Jed and Ashley Regan. It is a request to amend the official land use map from rural residential 10 to the ag forestry district involving approximately 37 acres. This is located in section 29 of Maple Grove Township. The parcel number is 763-00010, and it is located adjacent to, I don't have an address for this one. And so what you have here is this parcel here, everything around it is the R10 zoning. This is a little unique because they are requesting to amend this to go from the rural residential 10 to the ag forestry for the purposes of a winery. I don't know if everybody remembers the winery down south of town. The state's got some requirements that to have a winery and to meet the requirements, you have to be zoned agricultural for that to occur. And so that is what they're requesting today is for this. The interesting part is that at some point when they get the winery approved and they're up and running, they're going to need to have a liquor license from the county. And that requires commercial zoning, and if everybody can remember what happened with the winery south of town, we had to split the zoning in half on the parcel so that everything on the north side of the building was zoned commercial 2 so they could get their liquor license, and everything on the south half of the building was zoned agricultural so that they would be able to get their license from the state. So that's what's before you today is to change that to the ag forested. The Planning Commission recommended approval with the attached finding of form in your packet from the June 15th meeting. Staff have reviewed the request, the finding of fact, and concur with the Planning Commission and recommend approval.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Lebke. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair, if we have other agricultural situations where somebody, let's say, wants to sell the produce off that property, or if it's chickens or beef or something like that, and it's agricultural, and they want to open up a shop to sell it off of that, do they have to get that area then claimed to be commercial, or is it only like in a winery, or what determines that?
Well, that's state statute for a winery that requires them to
Okay,
have
it's a
that.
state statute. Agricultural, if it was agricultural products off of that, it wouldn't require it.
No, we have that in our ordinance that allows, the growing of livestock and produce, and that's obviously something that can be sold from a farm, and they wouldn't have to. I mean, you would be able to do that in any of our zoning districts. If you had R5 or whatever, you could still have agricultural uses and sell the produce or what you've grown and produced on that property.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, item number 6.4. We have Daniel and Denise Swenson. This is another land use map amendment request. This request is to amend the official land use map from rural residential 10 to rural residential 2.5. I just want to clarify that on your request for board action. We put in R5, but it was it was an error. It should have been, I should have said that was, it was a request for 2.5 is what they originally requested, but this was similar to the one we had before with Holmvik that they changed the recommendation and that, but I'll get into those details here in a second. This is located in section 20 of Garrison Township. It's located adjacent to 8245 Quast Avenue, and the parcel number is 672000502. What they're requesting is, this is the parcel here, and what they wanted to do is to change that from the R10 to rural residential 2.5. The Planning Commission, could we go down to the next, or go to the previous map, just quick? Yeah, this would be, where's my, 23 here, and then this is Quast here, so just to kind of give us an idea of where we're at. And then, so they wanted to go to 2.5 zoning, and the Planning Commission, upon review and looking at all the the facts and information, made a recommendation to the county board to deny going to rural residential 2.5, involving the 15 acres as presented with the finding of fact as shown in your packet, and then made a motion to recommend to the county board to approve this going to rural residential 5 involving the 15 acres in question with the finding of fact in your packet. Staff had reviewed the request, the finding of facts, and concur with the planning commission. As similar to the previous application, 2 motions would be needed if you were going to follow the planning commission recommendation on this. So they're going, instead of going to the 2.5, the planning commission recommended going to 5 acre instead of 2.5.
Are there any questions?
So just, Madam Chair, just a question. So if it was going to be 2.5, I guess can't see where the access is here. How would they have chopped it up?
Could we go back down to the next one, Therese, please? So the access that they have, again, this is that Quast, so that'll be the way they can get up into that, get to the property to divide it.
Yeah.
And then they would either look at, depending on the number of lots they wanted to create, if it was more than 6 lots, they'd have to plat it. If it was less than that, they'd go through an administrative subdivision and they would create an easement to get back there so that they would be able to create, access. There's also a narrow strip here that would give them access off the county road down here too, so.
So, Madam Chair, so that'll be, if the board approves it, it'll be 3 5-acre lots.
Basically, yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah, the planning commission felt that 5 acres was more appropriate just because this is, the dark green is the ag forest, which is 35 acre density. And then this is the R20, which is 20 acre. This is the R10 for 10 acre. And then this was the only other zoning out there that was similar to the request, and that was over in this area was R5. And so they just felt that 2.5 just didn't meet the what was happening out in the neighborhood.
Okay. So, Madam Chair, I would move to deny the 2.5 request. Is that the proper? Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Hoag. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now a motion for R.5.
Madam Chair, I would so move to go with the Planning Commission's recommendation to have this be R5?
Correct.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Hoag. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much. The next item we have is not a land use map amendment. That's interesting to not have those all the time, but what we have before you today is a land donation request from Richard Harrison. What the plan is that they would like to donate this strip of land here to the county. This would be the area where Cruiser's Kettle is now, and this would be used for parking for those users of the bike trail over in this area. This is approximately about 1.5 acres in size. It's about 80 feet in width. It's about 900 feet to 1,000 feet in depth, just based on the angle up here on Iron Hub Road. It currently is one lot. You can see, because there's a right up here. This is all currently one big lot. The plan would be to do a subdivision and to create that subdivision lot. This is in the city of Cuyuna, so it would be under their jurisdiction for planning and zoning. And so this would be the part that would be donated to the county for that parking lot area. This has been reviewed as far as a title opinion that shows no encumbrance being on the property. This, again, as I mentioned, this would have to go through a subdivision process to create a north and south parcel. And this would be something any activities or work to create the parking lot in there would be part of would be the bike club the club's responsibility. It would not be fall on the county to build any sort of parking out there. But this is just the county would take it into as a donation and then be used for parking by the club down the road.
So, Madam Chair, a question. So I guess I don't know if anybody else has ever seen this, but this yellow with the R's on there, I guess I don't understand what that is?
Thanks for bringing that up.
Pardon me?
I should have mentioned that. This is all the areas that are in the R is tax forfeited, is all tax forfeited property. And the areas that are without that shading on it are private property. And so this is a parcel here that Mr. Harrison is wanting to donate for the purposes of that parking area.
And then down just below that red line to the right and below it, what is all of that in there? Just little lots that are,
That would have gone tax forfeit years and years ago. Yep.
is there roads in there?
Yeah, that's what you see here, all these little, you can see these are all platted roadways that are in there.
They were platted, do they actually exist?
They were platted and they actually do exist. Yep.
You mean the road or the,
The road?
Well, no, those, I mean, if you were to go out there, if you were to take that off, it would look exactly like this. It was platted, but it never
built.
was developed and that, so it went tax forfeit.
so that's all, Madam Chair, so that's all tax forfeited, and
Yeah.
if somebody wants to come in and buy one of those lots over the counter, I would assume that they're available.
Well, we haven't, to go through that process right now, with all the parcels that are shaded, that are with the R on it, those have been determined to be conservation by the county board, and they're currently not up for sale.
Madam Chair, so what does that mean, Chris, considered conservation?
So when you look at statute, when property goes tax forfeit, the county board gets to make two choices. One is it's either conservation, and that means we keep it into the holdings of the county, or we deem it as non-conservation, and then we can put that up and we can sell those lots. So those are the two classifications when land goes tax forfeit that the county board gets to make. And these right now have been deemed to be conservation, so they're not up for sale. They could be, we could come and ask them to be to be classified as non-conservation, and then we could put them up on the land sale. I think part of what you see here is just accessibility and location. It's probably not something that's going to be really a highly desirable area to probably develop out there.
Then why, Madam Chair, so why wouldn't we just kind of clean this up then if we're going to keep it in conservation? Why wouldn't we just put it back into one big chunk? I mean, I would think that we could do that here.
We'd have to go through a process of basically when you there's a process to create a plat and there's a process to dissolve a plat in essence. And I think the effort and return on the investment we get for doing that, what you see is basically like putting a piece of paper on top of a piece of property. Underneath the property still is, an undeveloped 40-acre. I just don't think the return on the investment or the effort needed to dissolve a plat would make sense, particularly since it's in the city of Cuyuna and there'd be a process we'd have to go through them. I just don't think the return on the investment would achieve anything that would help further our land management goals.
Okay. And then one more question. I know, thought it was going to be a quick meeting. So is the yellow with the R thing, is that something new? I mean, I don't know.
Excuse me, which?
The yellow with the R on there, what does the R stand for?
Reserved.
Oh, reserved.
Yeah, it just, we could, put TF on it or something like, but it just stands for reserved. It's just kind of a standard layer that we put on.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to accept the land donation from the Harrison family.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Hoag, second by Commissioner Lubke. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair, one quick, again, just a thanks to the Harrison family. That parking has been an issue at Cruiser Kettle since it was, since the beginning of cars parking on the curvy gravel road and stuff. So this will help a lot to alleviate that from a safety standpoint. So.
Absolutely. All right, last item we have under land services is the comprehensive plan consultant contract. So we received consultant proposals from 5 different consultants, Bolton and Mink, Houston Engineering, HKGI, SRF, and WSB. We went through a scoring process with myself and Gary and Tim And Matt from the Highway Department and Bolton and Mink came out as the top scorer, and they're the consultant that we propose that we would enter into contract with for professional services for our update to the comp plan. We were requesting that the county board authorize the land service director to enter into this contract attached as part of the packet with a not to exceed amount of $102,206. And then it also authorizes the land service director to negotiate and approve any contract amendments necessary to ensure the quality and timeliness of the comp plan update. This has been reviewed up by the county attorney's office, and they've given us the thumbs up. And this has a completion deadline in the contract of May 25th, 2025. I don't think it'll take that long, but that's the deadline that we've got in the contract to kind of our stop, our the time that we want to have it done with no later than that. And just to note that the current contract does have the environmental services manager listed on the contract. It'll just be updated to replace that with the land services director. If there's any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer those. I'd recommend approval to use Bolton and Mink as our contractor, consultant.
Madam Chair, I have no questions, so I'll make the motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Madam Chair, I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Lubke. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And just a reminder that we do have our township meeting tonight at 6:30 down in meeting rooms 1 and 2 of the Land Services Building, and y'all are invited to show up. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Is that the one in Nisswa tonight? Is that,
No, that's the one downstairs.
Yeah, that's the
oh, there's a
kickoff
Nisswa
meeting.
one and one down here, right?
Yep, ours starts at 6:30 tonight, and that one starts at 4 up at Nisswa, up at their community center up in Nisswa, for the Crowing River Watershed Kickoff Meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I know this isn't the public hearing part, but could I be allowed to make one brief comment?
Yes.
Okay. When it came to
Come to the microphone, state your name and address. And why didn't you talk at open forum?
It happened after the open forum, Madam, but
Okay.
during the agricultural land use amendment part, I heard a first and a second, but I didn't hear a vote. I could have missed that. I'm not sure if that's going to impact.
Did we vote?
Was
We
there? Oh, I'm
voted.
sorry, I missed that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Sheriff.
I was going to mention that Chris's invitation tonight sounded riveting.
It was on the, published on the agenda, so.
Riveting, that's a good word.
Yeah, yes. Well, good morning, Commissioners, Madam Chair. I appreciate it. Things have been very busy this summer already. And again, I'm not working myself out of a job anytime soon. It's been, there's a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of people that we get invited to speak at different events. I want to mention our Boat and Water Division. They've been doing an excellent job this summer and putting on trainings and sharing or attending these invites that we get invited to. So they're doing an excellent job. Plus, they're spending all that time out on the water, interacting with the people that are using our water resources. So I just really appreciate that. We had Lakes Jam this last week, and one of the biggest events that I've seen out at BIR, even bigger than BIR Nationals. The camping that was out there was just, it was mind-blowing. I just had never seen anything like that, and I think overall it was a good success, and we probably ended up with 4 or 5 DWIs this weekend, some directly related to Lakes Jam, but others that were not as well. And then we had just some minor incidences out there that garnered our attention or to address. So overall, it was a great, really good success on that. Again, we've had lots of mental health stuff that's been happening that we're dealing with. We had a pursuit here not too long ago that this female was struggling with some mental health stuff, and I want to give a good shout out to our guys, our deputies that are working the road, that are that are dealing with these folks and doing a professional and really a great job in offering the services, what we can offer to them, because we're not professionals in that, but we have been doing a lot of training, a lot of mentoring with our own folks to make sure that they have the tools that they need to address some of these issues that they're dealing with. And even myself, I've been getting lots of calls and a lot of folks that have been struggling with mental health issues, and I really can't put my finger on why that's seems to be just increasing. We also have had a lot of folks that are struggling with alcoholism, people that are just drinking themselves silly. And that's probably, I don't know if it's a combination between mental health and alcohol, but I'm in some of these cases, I know these people personally, and they're professionals and pillars in the community as well, and they're just struggling, and I don't know if that's a COVID issue or something like that from the past, but otherwise, we've been plugging along for the summer, and it's been going really good. With that, I'd take any questions if you had any. I don't really have much more to offer than that, so.
Madam Chair, I do have a question for the sheriff. I know that the sheriff's department always has been more of an education tool. I mean, you try to educate people rather than just going out there and ticket. And I did hear through the grapevine that Tim Bray's roundabout up by Grandview, that it's still not open. I don't know, but there's been some barriers there, and I heard over the weekend, I don't know if you know this, but I heard through the grapevine that there was like 50 tickets given out. I don't think it was from you guys. I think it's probably from Nisswa, but people were actually moving the barriers and they were going around there. I don't know if you've heard that.
Yeah, I have heard that. Matter of fact, Nisswa Police posted on their Facebook page that it's against the law to go around those barriers. And then after that post, I went out and educated people with pieces of paper. So.
Okay.
So.
Sheriff,
right,
I have a
yeah.
question. There's a lot of talk about mental health, and I'm just wondering if the Northern Pines new urgent care center has helped at all.
Yes, that's been a big help. That just recently opened up, and we're very excited about that. We've used it on several different occasions. It's been a godsend, really. Yeah, we really appreciate that. We're thinking that that's going to be the next really big deal. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Is the county attorney online?
I am. Good morning, everyone. I don't have anything for you today, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions? No. Well, thank you, Don.
Yeah, have a good day, everybody.
You too.
Madam Chair, I think the county engineer would like to come up and speak. You look like you're nodding your head. You're winking at me.
I wondered if the county engineer would get time on the agenda. I just wanted to take an opportunity to acknowledge some of the comments we're getting about all the construction that's going around the Brainerd Lakes area. That's a double-edged sword. We realize that there's a lot of disruption to the public. And the good news is that, so Mill Avenue right now is closed to through traffic, and Beaver Dam is also under construction too, with some milling operations. And Beaver Dam is the detour for the Mill Avenue project. So we recognize and want to acknowledge that that is a challenge for the public. The good news is that will be done by the end of this week. We believe that all the paving on both of those roads will be done next week. And then we'll get right down to the task of detouring traffic for Wise Road and the following week. So that's a little bit sooner than we thought. I thought it was going to be in August. I'm being told by my staff and the contractors that it's going to start as early as next week after the 4th of July holiday. So we appreciate the public's patience and your patience with us, and feel free to send us any comments that you may receive, and we'll try to address them the best we can. It's a necessary evil if we want to take care of our roads to have construction. It just seems like this summer it's everywhere. It's MnDOT, it's the city, it's the county, it's the townships are doing stuff. One day in December, it will all be done. But I'm being facetious. I'm being facetious. I'm hoping that by August 1st, the majority of our construction is done and we can have a quiet fall. I'd be happy to answer any questions about that or anything else.
Madam Chair, so when is the Grandview roundabout going to be open?
I've met with Grandview personnel last week and engineer from WSN, and we talked about the requirements that must happen before they can officially open it. The public is deemed to open it for themselves, but it sounds like our law enforcement partners are helping with that. It's all about safety. For those that we're keeping people out of there, there's pavement, there's all of that stuff, but there's no signs, there's no pavement markings, and things like that. Those are all safety features that must be in place before we can open it up to the public officially. And so they're working through one last thing this week. Now that the pavement's on, the signs are coming, the pavement markings are coming, but there's some treatments to the boulevard that we're trying to work out before they open it. So I can't say exactly when that's going to happen. I know the engineer was trying to get some concrete contractors out there and get some bids. Hopefully within the next couple weeks.
And 115, how's that going?
115 is moving right along. Still, we had a little bit of rain. Finally, we got rain. It was after we poured curb and gutter, so we have a little bit of cleanup there and kind of maybe reshape some things up, and then we'll just keep moving forward. We feel that we're on track. The contractor's doing a great job of communication and taking small chunks at a time so the residents can get through there. And when I've walked the corridor and the residents come out, the first thing they say is how well the contractor communicates and how appreciative they are to accommodate their movements throughout the corridor. So I feel we're on track for this fall to be done with that south section.
Well, this is in my district, and I'm not receiving any calls, so I take that to mean that you're doing a good job.
Well, thank you. And I think they're coming to the contract, that communication piece is right there. If a resident has a challenge, sometimes if they're actually there at their home or a seasonal place, they'll come out and talk to the contractor and our staff that's on site. So I think that's a testament to the communication that we have. Every project has challenges. And so it's not that it's, no challenges at all. It's just that we're handling it at the appropriate level. And I'm happy to hear that they're not rising to your level because we're able to take care of it.
Madam Chair, one other thing, just to let the county board know that down in my district on County Road 2 and State Highway 25, if you remember, we talked about that. Two people have been killed at that intersection. And so Tim and his staff and talking to down there to the township people and trying to figure out what can we do to make that safer. Tim and his staff, what do you call them? Rumble strips. That was quite a few years ago. Did that. Now we just recently, Tim informed me that put up actually they're repurposed stop signs with the red flashing lights. And I actually did get a call from Jim Barrett, who is in Daggett Brook Township on the board. The chairman called and said that he sure appreciated, and it's really very visible when you're coming, because I've said this before, when we get out these roads so smooth and they're so straight that people just kind of, I don't know, what do you call it, Tim?
Complacent.
Yeah, complacent, or I think there's another word too, but you kind of, all of a sudden, you've blown right through a stop sign and you don't even really know it. So this is really going to be an enhancement. I sure appreciate it. Then also I was going to call you, I don't know if it was last year where my constituents, they didn't want calcium chloride on the dirt roads. They didn't like it, and so we said, okay, we're not gonna do it then. And so I just traveled on, is it 132, which is kind of a long county road, and it is in really good shape, really good shape. I don't know if they just bladed it or what, but it was really good. And I can still see just a tiny little effect from the calcium chloride, some wet spots as you go along. So I think things are good down in my area, road-wise. So Sheriff, just a question, you can just nod your head. So if somebody went around those barricades, but they didn't get caught, they can't get a ticket or a piece of paper after that, oh, good.
I lucked out there.
I went and had lunch at Zorba's. But I went around the other way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, County Administrator.
Madam Chair, members of the board, there was a senior management team meeting yesterday. We talked about our continuous improvement work. I'm happy to report that there are more projects that are populating our pipeline, and so that team is, I think, on a good path towards reinstitutionalizing that which we had to suspend during COVID. Couldn't get people together to look at process improvement, and so now we're reinvigorating those efforts, and I'm pleased with where they're at today. I still think there's a ways to go, but I'm pretty pleased with where they are at today. I've been telling you for a while now that I've been waiting for legislative summaries, and they have been not forthcoming, and I think it is a reflection of just how much got done in this last legislative session. Well, I'm finally starting to receive some of those. I just got these late yesterday, so I haven't had a chance to look through them yet. Otherwise, I'd give you a briefing today, but I'll brief you on them yet this week. But we are starting to see some of that, and there are a lot of resource things that are going to come through for us this year. The question is, what are the requirements that come with it, and is that a net gain or is it a net loss? And I'm pretty familiar with the resource things that are coming through so far, but I'm not as familiar with the requirements thing, which is why this becomes important to see what are the costs that got sent down to us, as well as what are the revenues that got sent down to us. And so it's a net gain or a net loss, and that's how I tend to think about it. I don't know yet, but I can tell you that there's a lot of detail in the requirements, and so I do think that even though I'm going to go through this summary with a fine-tooth comb, I'll bet you there are going to be things we're going to be hearing about over the course of the next 1, 2 to 3 years that someone missed. There's a lot that got done. So I'm curious to go through here and see what are the requirements. So I'll report those to you yet this week.
Great.
Happy to answer any questions related to that or anything related to county government.
Any questions? Is there any additional business?
Madam Chair, if I might have a couple remarks I would like to make. Thank you, Commissioners. I appreciate it. On the 15th, I had the privilege of going to a gala out at Madden's for the Relationship Safety Alliance Mid-Minnesota Women's Shelter, now named the Louise Soliski Shelter for Women. She was the first director when that came into existence. And then the Alex and Brandon Child Safety Center, where they can have visitations that are monitored. It was a great event. This was their first one. They're already planning their one for next year, but highlighting, and I hate to use that term, domestic violence and the issues that surround it. So just wanted to let everyone know that they should start looking to buy their tickets for next year. I want to encourage them, but it's a terrible issue to have to highlight. It impacts our sheriff's department, our community services, and of course our levy. And so we should try to make sure that we can mitigate those issues as much as we possibly can. Then the other day I had the privilege of being up in Pequot. Didn't realize I was going to be part of this, but it was the dedication for the Lakes Area Food Shelf in Pequot Lakes. They're going to be adding an addition onto their building. That was a great event. Had a chance to talk with Rachel Zita and some of the other staff up there. Rachel being our staff, but some of the local people up there. And that's going to be a great effort in the providing food for the people up in that area. Today, at 12:30, there's a dedication out at the airport for the solar array between Brainerd Public Utilities / Brainerd / Crow Wing County. So you're invited to come out there and
It's not published.
participate in that.
It's not published, we can't all go out there.
Oh, okay, well, I was invited, so I'll be there. Must be the airport commission. Pardon me?
They didn't invite you, the chair?
Of course not.
Well, you can come, Rosemary, and there'll be just two of us. That'll be fine. So, beyond that, I want to remind everybody that Tuesday is July 4th. There'll be lots of traffic in our area. I think we've seen that already this past week. It's amazing. I think you should put a sheriff's deputy right there at 210 and 371 because they clog up that intersection like crazy. It's annoying and discouraging and certainly not safe. But getting past that, we appreciate everything that those patrol officers do out there and acknowledge the fact that we get hundreds of thousands of people into our area during this summer months and that their job gets more difficult every day. There's also parades. Oh, none of us are running for office, so we don't have to be in a parade, but we can certainly go and enjoy them and the other outdoor activities that'll be taking place in the coming weeks. So with that, Madam Chair, if there's no other commissioner remarks, seeing none, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Barrow, second by Commissioner Corey. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is